you will not grow if you're not posting consistently. And I can tell you that because this last quarter, I was like, we do not need to post consistently. And guess what? Our growth stopped. And when I say we don't need to post consistently, we were posting 2 to 3 times a week. That is not enough for growth.
Yeah.
If you think that 2 to 3 times a week is enough for growth, you are wrong.
This is the Good Influencer Podcast with Julia Markham and Becca McLeod, pulling back the curtain of how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.
So we had our quarterly meeting yesterday, and one of the things that came up kind of early on was that CLJ has experienced a little bit slower growth in Q2 as compared to other quarters. And you've kind of mentioned like growth isn't my focus right now, but is it well, I guess that was kind of in the past. Is it one of your focuses now?
Okay, you know what? So I think this is so enlightening because in quarter 2, I said, I think for the first time, growth is not my focus right now. And guess what happened? Our growth stopped. We were still in the green, but like I realized, obviously you gain and lose followers every week naturally. And even though we were in the green, I would say we were more in the black. Like we were not in the red, but we were not experiencing like the growth that we used to, which was around, a few thousand a week we were growing previously to Q2. And then in Q2, I was like, I don't really care about growth right now. Like I'm really focused on engagement. And we had, we had some good engagement in Q2. We had some of the highest content engagement that we've had all year. However, it didn't really lead to growth as much because we weren't focused on creating really like viral content. It was more like, let's get our followers to be excited about that. So it was a lot of like leading people from what we were doing in stories to posting like a reveal in feed. And it was really the content that we were sharing was really for our current audience. It was like, if you weren't here, you probably don't understand like what all these in progress pictures are that don't have any text on them. But like our audience loved it. Like the engagement was great.
Yeah.
And then we kind of started panicking a little bit because I was like, okay, we like cut down on how much we were posting in feed. It was just like, maybe we just needed a break. I don't know. It was also a busy quarter. And so now we're like, actually, maybe we do want growth. And, we talked about, okay, plan in place. Whatever's in feed has to be presented in a way that anyone that doesn't even follow us, like new followers, can like glean insight and inspiration from it. They can't be like, what is going on? And it's also difficult because as soon as, it's been 1 week since we're like, actually, maybe we do want growth. Yeah. And we've started implementing things again that I'm like, oh, right. It's all the negativity that comes with growth that's difficult. Like if you're growing, you're going to get negativity. And that's just part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's such a weird balance because we have in the past kind of defined posts that are made for engagement and posts that are made for growth. And one of the biggest mistakes I see influencers making is only focusing on the growth posts. Like I go to their page and every single one is an introduction, or you can tell like seeking some of like trying to be viral. There's no story content. There's no follow up to what they're sharing in feed. So it's almost like bringing people in the door and it's like a revolving door. And then they're immediately going back out because they're not getting anything. And how do you, I know this is like a new focus, but how do you kind of find that balance in welcoming people in, but also keeping them around?
So this is something that Andy, our visual media manager, and I were just kind of discussing because things have changed. I used to like look in my feed and I'm like, oh, we've posted the living room so much lately. Like our last 5 posts have been the living room. Let's show something else. But then if you're trying to attract like new followers, imagine the safety and comfort that they would feel if they saw something about a living room and then they went to your feed and the previous posts were also all about their living room. Like you would feel so like, okay, I get it. I get what's going on and I want to see more. And I think that's one thing that I've like relearned, not even relearned, learned recently because I feel like that's something that we used to not do. It was more like you want to give variety and you want to show so many aspects of what you do. And it's like now, if you're trying to hook people into a story, it's actually good to have a little bit of repetitive content, not in that it's the same content, but maybe it's the same storyline. Like either you're working on something, it's in multiple parts, or you're showing something and then you're showing something in more detail that you got a lot of questions about. And that can feel like scary because you're like, well, if I post this, then it's going to be like mid-story. But the people that find that are going to be invested in that story. And I think that's something that's definitely come from TikTok that's being adapted really quickly into Instagram. One mistake that I see influencers making a lot, and it's really, maybe they're just focusing on growth only, but they kind of fall into this trap of rage bait content or viral only content. Like they're creating like this content that maybe is only to go viral or only, and a lot of it is some sort of like rage bait content where they do something on purpose that people are going, it could be a spelling error. It could be a bad spelling error. It could be they are self-tanning with white on. I've seen this over and over, and I've also seen audiences fall for it every time where they're doing something on purpose and they're acting like it's no big deal, but they're doing it so that people like get raged out and comment, and then it goes viral but it goes viral for all like negative comments.
Yeah.
And I just want to warn influencers of that because it's not sustainable, and it's not sustainable, one, for your mental health, because that will get to you at some point. And then also, it's not, you don't always want to just think of like some rage content or rage bait thing that you can do anytime you want engagement. But you can take note of what hits. And then the other thing I see is like one random time they make content and it goes viral and it's not in their niche. And they gain a bunch of followers and they're like, wait, I gained a bunch of followers, but this isn't my niche. It's like, well, why did you post that?
Yeah, I see that
like
so much.
Yeah, we hear about it in the Good Influencer Mastermind all the time. It's like, I went viral, but it was for this and now I don't know what to do. It's like, well, yeah, you went viral for that. And so now is that what you're going to do? Like maybe you should think about that, because clearly that's what people responded to. And then you're kind of in this weird situation where that's not even the kind of content you like to create. Have you heard about, what is his name? It's all over everything right now. The guy that kind of went viral for having the normal 9-to-5 job, Hub's Life.
Oh my gosh. Okay, no, but I've started to get bits and pieces of the story on TikTok, so I don't actually know what's going on.
Okay, so Hub's Life is this is a great example of someone that grew really quickly and then kind of like went completely outside of their niche and is really confused as to what to do now. So Hub's life, and you've probably seen his content. I never followed him, but he grew pretty rapidly on TikTok for kind of romanticizing a normal 9-to-5 job. He would show like a day in the life of someone that works 9 to 5. He would show up in his cubicle. He would go home for 30 minutes. He would walk his dog. He would show people like what he packed for lunch. He would be like, just like typing on his computer. It was very like not exciting content, but it was almost like a comfort content because a lot of people could relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are, and they were just like, oh, this is me. And, then he would finish work and he would like, there was not even like really talking. It was just all him like, okay, I'm going to tie my shoes and go work out and, make dinner, whatever. So that was his content. And he grew really rapidly from that. And a lot of people related to that. Then he quit his job because he blew up on TikTok. And then he tried to he said he quit his job because he's just going to be a full-time content creator now, which is hard because he became a content creator from posting about his 9-to-5. And now everyone's turning on him. And I don't have an opinion on I don't think it's valid to turn on him, but I do understand why people have. And I think it's kind of one of those things where, and you talked about this with Victoria in a previous episode, that you do have to understand why people are following you. And you get to decide the content that you create, but if you plan on changing that content, it has to be extremely gradual. I started out as a DIY content creator. Over the last 15 years, I became a renovation content creator. Still very similar content, I didn't flip everything, which is kind of what he's done. And it's not going well for him.
And one thing you've kind of said is the audience you attracted 15 years ago who were buying their first home and doing all these DIYs are now kind of in the same lifestyle point as you are. Of now we live in bigger homes and we're renovating and paying people to renovate, but still doing occasional DIYs. But it's the same audience. And yeah, you are attracting new audience members, but generally it's the same people who've been able to kind of gradually grow through this process with you. Whereas someone who's I'm following you because you have kind of the same 9-to-5 lifestyle I do. And then all of a sudden that's gone. It's well, see ya.
It's why should I still well, I'm still working my 9-to-5 and it's now that's completely gone. I do think that if you do feel as a content creator, you want to shift a little bit and you're looking for okay, growth strategies and how can I continue growing while shifting my content a little bit. Or maybe you're like us where you're kind of in a slump with your growth. And one thing that I pinpointed in our quarterly meeting yesterday was what makes us unique. Okay, what makes Chris Loves Julia unique? We are renovating, and so we really lean into that. But I think one other thing that makes us really unique is that we are a husband and wife team. And there's very few out there that you see the husband and wife both renovating. In fact, when I talk about anytime we're doing a renovation, a lot of the questions I get is well, how do you and Chris come to an agreement? Or my husband doesn't want to renovate and I don't know what to do. Or, it's very rare for both people in a couple to come together and make decisions. And I think a lot of people need help navigating that. And so if you find yourself in a growth slump, I would say reassess what makes you unique as a content creator. There are so many out, especially females out there working on their homes. And so I feel a unique perspective that we can offer is we are a couple doing it together, and maybe we should show more of those conversations where like, you know, Chris is frustrated with this just happened. He went and got an anchor that he literally has said in the past he hates. And I was like, why did you get that? And of course I'm filming this the whole time because I was filming hanging up our plate rack. And so I have not looked back at the footage because I'm like, well, we kind of were like, I was like, why did you get that when you said you hated it? He's like, I just needed something that works. And I think showing those kinds of conversations while also making sure like, you know, our marriage is intact and safe and protected is something that I think could help our next stage of growth. Yeah. It's like your growth strategies that you're doing right now might get you this far. And then it's like, okay, now it's time to like dig deep and see what else needs to be tweaked to kind of get over that plateau. It's like the same thing with weight loss. You know, it's like, I've done all of this, but I'm at a plateau. So what do I need to do now?
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is such a great lesson for everyone listening in to hear that accounts, like even accounts your size, are having to pivot and go through moments of slow growth. Has it always been like that? Like, do you feel like when Instagram first came out, you had to make sure that you were really standing out in your niche and you had to always kind of be pivoting to stay on top of what your audience wants to see in order to grow?
It was so different back then because stories didn't really exist. And so I think that like pre-stories, you could stand out on Instagram by taking a high quality photo. And like now it's a little bit the opposite where people want to see more imperfections. I do think that now there's way more opportunity for growth than there was back then, to be honest, because your content was mostly shown to your audience. And I feel like I worked for every follower back in the day. Whereas now I think, and I know this is like maybe an unpopular opinion, but I feel like Instagram's algorithm just puts content out to so many eyes that maybe has never seen it before. And that really didn't exist back in the day where it was like, you know, you opened Instagram and it was chronological feed of who posted last. You weren't seeing content that you didn't follow. Very rare. And so I feel like now it's a lot easier to grow on social media. And it does take creating content that Instagram that is right now shareable and savable, more shareable. They will push your content out to people that has been shared. You know, we can get high engagement, which is what we were kind of talking about at the beginning of our conversation, where we were so focused on engagement, which is like comments, likes. It was highly engaged, but was it being shared? Not as much. Was it being saved? Not as much. And so when we started focusing on, okay, what's the kind of content that you're going to share with your friends, your family members, you know, how many shares is this post going to get? And when we started focusing on creating content that is the kind of content that we would share, our growth is picking back up again. Yeah. Literally, we went from, what was it? Maybe 400 new followers a week to 2,000 last week. And so just by switching what we were focusing on, like, okay, let's create content that is shareable.
Yeah.
And it's right now, this is always going to change. But right now, this is what we should be doing for growth.
And you mentioned like nowadays growth is a little easier because it's easier for people to find your content. And like so much so that Instagram, I think this week is rolling out an update to where people can now find your Instagram posts through Google. So if someone Googles like best sheet pan chicken recipe, your Instagram could pop up if you're like using proper keywords and you're making sure that you've like kind of optimized it SEO wise. I don't know. I'm interested to look into the process more and what it takes to like really be found there. But that's huge for creators getting new followers.
I can't even express how huge this is. And I'm really hoping Instagram's kind of search function follows suit because it's been weird. It's been the little Meta AI has been not helpful at all. I used to be able to go on Instagram and search for arch window. And now when I go, it's like Meta AI is telling me what an arch window is. I'm like, okay, you are not smart enough to understand that I'm looking for images of arch windows. And I think this new feature is kind of like going back to that. And also that anyone from a Google search can now, I mean, TikTok is, I believe, the number 2 or 3 like search feature right now. Like people are using Google and then people are going on TikTok. And so it was only a matter of time that Instagram was going to realize like, oh, we need to catch up and add this amazing feature because we want not just TikToks to show up in search. Actually, I think YouTube's up there too, which YouTube is a part of Google. So now Instagram's going to show up in Google searches. And that is such amazing news. And it means so much to creators. And I think it is going to change, again, the way that we create content.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are like, man, I wish I would have gotten started 10 years ago. It would have been so much easier. I actually don't think that's the truth. I think it's easier now.
I don't. I think it's so much easier now if you can get out of your head. And my first advice to people when they are just starting out and they like want to be an influencer or they want to be a content creator, I'm like, well, first tell your family that. Tell your friends that, because you're going like you have to own it. I just recently, one of Time's 100 influencers of the year, I can't remember who it was. We'll have to fact check it. But they came out and said that the key to success as a content creator is through embarrassment. And I think that a lot of people feel like, I'm so embarrassed to film something in public, or like, oh, I'm so embarrassed to like even do a story in front of like my husband, and or like there's people in my house, I don't know what to do. And it's like, once you can own like this is who you are and this is what you want to do, then you are on your way, because it's usually that is stopping people. They feel self-conscious. They feel self-conscious about talking to their camera, and I'm like, okay, first of all, talk as if you're like FaceTiming your best friend and record it, because that is the vibe that you need to bring to Instagram. People want to see who you are and at your most comfortable. And I can tell when you're like stressed or you're feeling self-conscious about it.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the family thing, because I think a lot of people, they're like, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to tell my family or my friends. I'm just going to do this kind of privately. And, we talked, I mean, maybe it was a reel a while back about like kind of removing the shame around like telling people you're an influencer, because it is such a huge in like growing industry. It's very exciting right now. But do you feel like your friends and family were the ones purchasing your links and clicking on sponsorships, or was there eventually a point where it was like, okay, no, this is mainly my followers, this is not my, like, are your friends and family your target audience, or is that like your starting audience, I guess is what I'm trying to say?
I would say none of the above.
Perfect.
And I don't think that you should feel, the last thing you want is a forced audience. So I feel like I told my family and friends that this is what I'm doing, but I also like told, especially my best friends, like, hey, you don't need to visit me at work. Like, that means like I don't need like obviously it feels great when they comment, but I don't take note when my friends and family don't comment on my stuff because they don't need to visit me at work. And when they do, it's fun and we like, but I don't comment on their like I actually just got a comment in my question box like, are you and the Fulmers still friends? I'm like, yeah, we're still actual real life friends and our interactions online don't dictate whether that still exists or not because like they're working, I'm working, we are not each other's target audience but like we still really respect what we do and we support each other through long conversations in the evening, not by like a like or a share or a comment. And I know that my sister, who is an artist, she has really strong feelings about this because she's like, well, my family's not my target audience for my art. And if they were like the ones buying all my art, then would I even be a successful artist? And I think that's a really important perspective to keep if with any type of influencer. Like if the only people that are paying attention to what you're doing is your family and friends, like is that a good indication of success? No. I would tell them so that they can support you in other ways, so that they can be like, oh, do you need me to film something for you? Oh, let's be quiet for a minute. Or, I would love to help you set up for something. But like, I don't need you to go like and comment and share all of my stuff if you're genuinely not interested, because that gives me false data.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to reach my target audience and that might not be my friends and family. Now, I always say like your friends are your first influencers. Like you are most influenced by the people that you surround yourself with. And so it's really natural that, your friends are going to be interested. But I'm also like, I know I posted like a lot for Amazon Prime and you probably had to like skip over those stories and it's fine. Like I'm not offended at all because I'm working.
Yeah.
And
I like that perspective.
It's just you have to really define who your target audience is. And if your mom is posting all over Facebook, like, go follow my daughter on social media. I'm like, please stop. Like, they should only follow me if they're interested. Otherwise, there's an inflated data there that doesn't help me in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
A lot of my mom's friends do follow me though, so.
Your biggest supporters.
Are you ready to make an extra $1,000 a month? I'm sure you are. On August 20th, I am going to be hosting an exclusive seminar on how to create your own side hustle on social media. I'm going to be sharing all my tips on how to make money from the content that you are already creating and diversify those revenue streams with no large follower count necessary. I'm the queen of a side hustle. Seats are limited, so act now, and you can save your spot by signing up on our website today.
I think something every influencer goes through, and we've said this, like nobody wants to be the first one to a party, which is like when you're starting out, you say you have 200 followers. It is harder to attract a following because maybe you have content that goes viral, but then people come and they're like, oh, this is like a newer page. How do you get over that hump of no one wants to be the first one at this party?
Yeah. So I have one of my very first employees, and she's like still one of my favorite people. She no longer works for us because she has 2 little kids now. Her name's Brooke. I've seen her over the past, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year, kind of like quietly start posting on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no announcement that she was going to do TikTok. And she, you know, she has her very own style, which is so her. And basically, she just started showing up and posting as if everyone in the world was asking her for details on her life. And, you know, it was just like, here are my nursery essentials. She didn't say, everyone wants to know what my nursery essentials are, and so I'm going to share it. She just showed it. She made a link in bio. She consistently started posting, and guess what? She's grown so much. And I think getting over that hill is not waiting for someone to ask you to do something. Just do it. Not waiting for the question to ask like, oh, everyone's asking me what I'm wearing today. One of my favorite fashion creators on TikTok. Oh my gosh, I love her. I think her name's Rebecca. She has like 3 names on TikTok. It's like Rebecca Dana.
Yeah.
I need to find her name because I just started following her, and she just says every day, like, okay, I'm out for a walk. We're going to the bagel shop, and this is what I'm wearing. And like her boyfriend or fiance is filming her, and she just goes through literally like the top is Free People Movement, the da-da-da, my socks are Costco, my shoes are New Balance, my glasses are, you know, Yves Saint Laurent, and my earrings are Heather Mayhem. And she like blows a little kiss. And it's like, no one asked her to do that. She just started doing it. And I think like no one wants to be the first to a party, but right now, no one's going and seeing how many followers you have. Like it's so rare, which was why I say it's so much easier now, because back in the day, it was like jail until you were in 10,000 followers. You couldn't post links. You like, people were like, oh, they have less than 10,000 followers. It like showed to the number how many followers you had. And it was like so embarrassing. And like nowadays, people don't care how many followers you have. If you're posting like engaging content that just feels like confident in your own unique style and is just providing value and information, people are going to catch on. And I think the key is consistency. Always, like be consistent. You will not grow if you're not posting consistently. And I can tell you that because this last quarter, I was like, we do not need to post consistently. And guess what? Our growth stopped. And when I say we don't need to post consistently, we were posting 2 to 3 times a week. That is not enough for growth.
Yeah.
If you think that 2 to 3 times a week is enough for growth, you are wrong. You are not going to grow if you're posting 2 to 3 times a week. Try to start out 2 times a day. Okay, that's going to get you a lot of growth. And I feel like people are like, I don't have time to post 2 times a day. Okay, you're not going to grow fast. You have to, give me 1 time a day minimum. If you want to grow, we are back to posting 6 to 7 times a week. And that is basically getting us half the growth that we used to in Q1 when we were posting much more.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what we can handle right now. And so therefore, this is what we can expect from it. And when people are like, yeah, like I just did a 3-month-long trial. And I can tell you, you're not going to grow posting 2 to 3 times a week. Not going to happen.
And something else, like I have to mention, and like it's definitely in Brooke's content. I definitely see this on TikTok. But if someone is consistently showing up in all of their content, they are going to grow quicker. And like nobody wants to be the first one to a party, especially if the host isn't even there. You're just standing alone in a room. But if you can just be there and you're with the host and it's fun and you really love their personality, then it doesn't really matter how many other people are there.
Yeah. And Brooke doesn't really talk in her content.
No.
She's there. You see her, you see the vibe. The vibes are there. You see who she is. She will occasionally hear her voice. I love it when I hear a creator's voice for the first time. I'm like,
and it's not what you expected at all.
It's not what I expected. It's like the most fun thing. I did not know what they sounded like. I love that so much. People, there's no mystery behind that for me. Again, I wish there was like a little more mystery. Like, what does she sound like? But I totally agree. And I think that's such a great analogy. Like, show up in the content for us that does get the most new followers does have us in it. Like side by side, we can compare like, oh, this one had 1 million views and this one had 1 million views. But this one was of our backyard and this one was of Chris cooking and this one got us 7,000 new followers. And it's like, because there's a person in it doing something. And people really, there's too many accounts right now, which I know that YouTube just cracked down on this, that they are no longer monetizing YouTube accounts that are AI at all, or regurgitated content, or like,
compilations of other videos.
Compilations. Yeah. Those videos are no longer on YouTube, like eligible for monetization. And neither is AI creators, which has become kind of like a thing. I don't know if or when Instagram or TikTok will follow suit there, but it is because people want to follow like a real person, and it's so much easier to become invested in a real person than like an image. And because that image can belong to anyone, you see an image and you're like, this is so cool, I'm going to share it with someone, but you're not invested in the person behind that image. I also realized when I show myself more in my content, I do get less negativity on my rooms than if I just show my rooms myself. And I'm always like, guys, I am the one reading the comments and responding.
Right.
Like it is me. And I think it's just a great reminder for people as well. Becca and I love chatting with you every week, but in between the podcast episodes, we're hanging out in our influencer mastermind. With a good influencer subscription, you get access to our exclusive course library designed to help you build your business as an influencer, and our mastermind forum on Facebook. This is your place to ask questions, network, and workshop. Here you can receive feedback from thousands of other influencers and our team. Listeners get 30% off their monthly subscription by using the code podcast at checkout. See you in the mastermind.
Well, I got this question in the mastermind, and it's one I see like probably once or twice a week. She said, we're a new account and not seeing much follower growth yet. We've been posting for 3 weeks and I've had a few reels get views from non-followers. What can I do to convert views to followers? And I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, when people ask this question and I go to their page, they're missing 2 things. 1 is that they don't show up in their content, and 2 is that they're not posting to stories. And I think like if I go to somebody's page, I saw their viral reel, I go to their page, I never see the person that's in it, and they're not even utilizing stories, which is 50% of the content on Instagram, I'm probably not going to follow, because I, 1, can't build a relationship with this creator, and 2, they're missing half of the content that other creators are providing. And we always say like stories are for the people that are already following you, but I do still believe that, but I also think they play a big role in growth, and that if you're not using stories, you will not grow.
Oh, 100%. Because also that is kind of the first thing when you start following someone, you expect to go to their stories and get something juicy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let me see more of this person. I feel like that's always the first thing I do when I start following someone new, is also their stories pop up for me immediately.
Yeah.
It's like they're always in the top of my thing. And so stories are super important. I also think like 3 weeks. How many times have you posted in 3 weeks? Have you posted 15 times? Have you posted 20 times? Like minimum, if you're talking, and like, I don't want to know how many weeks you've posted. I want to know how many times you've posted.
Yeah.
Oh, I posted for 3 weeks. Okay, so in my mind, you posted 21 times. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you saying you've posted 3 times? Because a time investment of how long you've been posting. Well, I've been posting for 15 years. How many followers should I have at this point? Like, that doesn't mean anything.
It's subjective.
It's like how active. I mean, I want you to post 100 pieces of content. And if you have not grown and you've posted 100 pieces of content in, let's give it, I'm going to give you 2.5 months to post 100 pieces of content. Then get back to me if you haven't grown, because I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think it's a good check. I think it's a good check-in with the mastermind. And this is what we do in the mastermind all the time, is like, people will post their content and be like, critique this because it's not landing, or I'm not seeing the results that I expected. And I think it's a really honest place that we can say, okay, well, in 3 weeks, you posted 5 things, and that's not enough data. And that's not enough. That's not consistent. That's not growth minded. That's just being active on social media, which is not the same as you're trying to grow.
Yeah, occasionally, it's like, oh, I would tweak this about the quality of your content. Most of the time, it's the cadence that you're posting, what you're actually posting. It's like the actual meat of what you're sharing on your page just needs to be tweaked a little bit, because there's not enough of it. You're not posting it at the right times. You're not posting it in the right places. The content you're posting is great.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I wanted to give you as homework this week is I want you to go to the last 10 accounts that you followed most recently. And I want you to take notes on what drew you to their account, why you kept following along, and what turned you from a viewer to a follower. Because understanding what makes you follow a page is something that you can take and bring into your own content. I know for me, I always look like, I know people are hesitant to share affiliate links. I love pages that share affiliate links. And if they're not sharing links, I'll typically just go find another page in that niche that is sharing links. And that's something I personally do.
100%. If I'm following a fashion blogger, why would I follow them if they're not going to share links? And so I feel like that's my duty in my niche. Like, I know people they're following me because they clearly like what I'm doing. So I'm going to provide them the ability to follow like what I'm doing and make it their own. And that's a huge part of being a content creator turned influencer. That's the influencer part of it.
Right. And so
you're influencing people to buy stuff or to do something.
There are things that like individually each of us are like so drawn to when we follow accounts. And I think you'll find that a lot of these accounts have things similar as you go through them, but use that as your homework this week. Start posting more often. You're going to grow. We just tried it and it worked.
We took one for the team and we didn't barely grow at all in Q2. I cannot wait until like the end of this quarter, and let's like have another check-in on how our growth is in Q3.
Okay, we're going to clip this portion and we're going to put it in that episode where we talk about what happened. We'll give you guys a follow-up.
Give me 3 months.
Okay. And also you guys give yourselves 3 months.
Yeah.
But we will be back. We'll be back next week. We're going to be sharing a little bit of CLJ history, how we got 2 weeks ahead in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. Bye.
Bye. Until next time, follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Good Influencer. And if you're ready to join a whole community of influencers growing organically and getting paid to do what they love, join the Good Influencer Mastermind by visiting our website, good-influencer.com. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.